Hey, greetings and salutations, and welcome to another episode of Mari's Golden Hour. It is another scorching hot day. I believe it got up to 114 or 115 today on this very balmy Saturday, September 5th, 2020 day. Oof. So I know that as hot as it is here, I'm sure it's hotter someplace else, and I feel for you. And I know that it can be awfully muggy in other parts of the country. So the humidity and the heat, no bueno, not a good combo. So, I forgot to mention in the last podcast, I think I forgot about this, the Bodega Boys ice cream. It is something that the Bodega Boys, if you guys are not familiar with who they are, that is Desus and Mero. They come along with a long list of AKAs. So they are known for that, along with their other humorous bits, and pretty much just them being themselves and doing what they do. If you have not checked out any of their episodes, I would say, if you want, you can start off how I did and check out their things on Vice. The ones that I find most hysterical tend to be the animal videos, in particular the goat videos. So if you just pop in Desus and Mero goat videos, be prepared to laugh. And now that I've said that, maybe you won't. I don't know. But anyway, they had to start for a time prior to that. And but I didn't catch them until Vice, and then they've since moved on to Showtime. But anyway, Oddfellows Ice Cream is the creator and maker of ice cream, but the Bodega Boys worked in conjunction with them to create these, what they're calling the Bodega capsule, and the flavors are sweet tea and lemonade sorbet, Bodega Counter Crunch, which I'm not too sure what that is, but I'm sure that the ingredients are there. I think it's just a hodgepodge of a lot of snacks that you would typically get at a bodega. What is it? Budget breakfast, which I believe that is coffee and cinnamon bun or cinnamon roll, that flavor. Host of cupcakes, which is what you think it is. It's that chocolate Hostess cupcake with the white squiggly mark down the center. Chico sticks, which I'm not too sure what those are. I feel like it's something that I have seen before, maybe even eaten, and I'm just not too sure what that is. And I have I have an image in mind of what I think it is, and like this chewy stick of something, not quite taffy, not quite bubblegum, but I don't know, it just trying to explain the consistency of what I'm thinking of, and just pretty much tasting like sugar. So, but the one that I really want to try is the bacon, egg, and cheese flavor, and it is all one word, bacon, egg, and cheese. So the ice cream store or shop that creates this, they're based in Brooklyn, and they can ship anywhere as far as I know. So at the time that I looked at it, they were completely sold out of the Bodega Boys, or what do they call? I think they're calling it, the Bodega capsule. So they were completely sold out at the time, but I think they have more in production, and it's $79 for that. So now I don't know if you're only getting one pint of this. Whoops. Sorry about that. My timer went off because I am multitasking and I have things cooking. So I don't know if the, what was I going to say? Sorry about that interruption. I don't want to go back and start over again. Although, maybe I should. Nah, screw it. It stays. But anyway, I don't know if you're only getting one pint of this ice cream or if it comes with 2 pints each of each flavor. If that is just one pint and maybe it's $79 because they have to ship it someplace. I don't know. I'd like to think you're at least getting 2 of each flavor, at least, just to, like, try to make it worth it. But, hey, if you can afford it, I say go for it. And I'm curious to find out what they really taste like. So, something I watched, I stumbled across the National Lampoon documentary called Drunk, Stoned, Brilliant, Dead. And it is... I don't know, I found it kind of cool to check it out. It was like an interesting sort of, really like a time capsule of that time period and that National Lampoon culture of Animal House, and just that really cool footage of watching the beginnings of what would be National Lampoon and also Saturday Night Live, and just a whole list of other huge things that we watch and read in pop culture. And there was just a lot of really cool footage of, like, Gilda Radner, Bill Murray, and just that crew of people. But it was also showing just how problematic they were, and like that best way to describe it, that National Lampoon culture, that Animal House and Porky's culture, it was kind of rapey, actually. So, yeah, it wasn't all cool, and I don't know, you just didn't realize how just it was until you see it with adult eyes later on down in life. I've also been reading the Twilight series, and I had already read them like maybe 3 or 4 times before, and it surprises me each time. I always pick up more and more things, and that one too is problematic, and a lot of codependency, and just kind of whiny. I don't know, just all that the selfish natures of Bella and Edward, and domestic abuse of Emily and Sam, and, you know, Edward doesn't even turn her into a vampire until after she has the baby. Like, you can read a lot into that if you wanted to. Some of that stuff is just quite blatantly obvious, and I don't know if that has to do with the I guess the upbringing of the author. I don't know, but even as problematic as it is, I still enjoy it for just what it is. And same with Midnight Sun. I've been reading that, and also checking out some of the online reaction videos that were leading up to those books, and also with Midnight Sun, just to find out, much like everybody else does when they make comments in the comment section, like, does anybody else see this? Does anybody else realize what's really going on here? Yeah. But it was cool to kind of get some of those different reactions, just to find out, you know, like what other people think, and to get some clarification, like, after the fact. Yeah, I don't know. And then also, the other thing I've noticed is that I feel like with both authors of the Twilight Saga and Harry Potter, I feel like they would kind of make clarifications, like, after the fact, and backpedal after everything has been released. And I don't know if that's a way to market their stuff and make more money, or if they actually feel, as they do about it. And because I'm multitasking, I am going to put this on pause and get right back. Okay, and I'm back. Sorry about that. Not that the pause actually affected you time-wise, but as far as continuity is concerned. And I might have to pause this again because, again, I am multitasking. I am making dinner and trying to make sure I don't burn anything or keep things soggy. But anyway, what else did I check out? The Alvin Ailey American Dance Theatre, they have on the Music Center, which is an arts center that is in Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles. I believe it's on the Music Center website, you can access this, but it's Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater has excerpts of their signature piece choreographed by Alvin Ailey himself, Revelations. And which I'd like to think that most people are familiar with that piece, Revelations. And even if you haven't seen it, you've at least heard the title. So this, basically the intro is from the associate artistic director, who is Matthew Rushing, and the dancer and choreographer, her name is Hope Boykin. She provides a chance for the viewers to interact and to do choreography from the 3 excerpts that they are showcasing. So it's not like a full-on, dance number, but I think she gives like maybe like 8 counts of choreography. I don't know. It's interesting. It's fun. Sorry, I ended up getting distracted by a couple texts coming through. What? Oh, so the excerpts that they're showing, let's see. So, it's I've Been Buked, Wade in the Water, and Rock of My Soul in the Bosom of Abraham. And this is going to have a limited viewing from August 23rd to September 30th. So make sure that at some point you go on that website, and even if you forget about it, just plug in Alvin Ailey excerpts from Revelations. And just to give a little bit of backstory on it, Revelations was choreographed, like I mentioned, by Alvin Ailey in 1960, and it is based on his blood memories in the church. So, and I believe it's the Baptist church where he grew up in Rogers, Texas. And but the piece itself, just that opening number, all 3 of them, they provide just a lot of great. I mean, it's Alvin Ailey. I mean, come on now, Alvin Ailey. I don't know of any number or any piece that they've ever done that's been bad, because they just are all about excellence. And I remember looking at I've Been Buked. Ooh, the clean lines that are in that. Even if you know nothing of dance, if you just look at the shadows that are being cast by their forms from the light grid up above, wow, it looks cool. You just see like they're all just those precise lines. It's very cool, very, very cool. And if nothing else, just watch it for that. The excerpts, they're not very long. I think they're maybe like 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Even with the choreography that the choreographer does after each number, that's pretty short as well. And it's nothing that is tough and complex. So even if you do not know how to dance, you're able to follow along. And then watching that, it just reminded me of seeing the American Ballet Theatre? Yes, ABT. They did, and I don't know if this was like a limited city tour, if they toured everywhere in the country with this, but I remember it came to Cleveland, and what it was American Ballet Theatre did a work that toured the country, that it was a show that had nothing but Prince songs, and that was the music that was played for all the dance pieces in that show. It was really, 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 really good. And I had hoped that they would, hold on, let me pause this. Sorry about that. I was about ready to go into a coughing fit in expressing my enthusiasm and appreciation for that show. I don't know if they have any of that footage available online. I didn't even think to try to check that out or seek it out. I'd like to think somewhere they do. They had to have recorded that at some point because it was just too cool. And plus it's Prince, unless Prince had something in his contract where it wasn't supposed to be recorded, I don't know. Or it wasn't supposed to be recorded and shown to the public in any way, which that easily, I could see that that happening and Prince doing something like that. But American Ballet Theatre, Prince, just plug in that in your search engine of your choosing. Which also, from that, it had me remembering a time where I spent working in Colorado, excuse me, for a couple of long summers, and that particular place where I was working, it's a performance arts school and camp, which I'm not too sure if it's still running. I think it still might be, but it was. At least, if it's not running right now, I say was in past tense, but if it's still running, it is a special place. And I might share a story on that later. But the one for right now is that I had a chance to, while I was working there, they also employed a lot of the Juilliard dance faculty heads and students who would come and take classes there. The faculty would teach dance classes, and actually among that faculty that was conducting new works shops, and they also did performances showcasing the adults and what they could do, but in addition to the students doing their thing, Robert Battle, who would eventually become the current artistic director of Alvin, Ailey. I had a chance to, he was working there. I can't remember if he was there both of the summers that I was or just one summer. But I think at that point he was also bringing in his dance company called Battleworks to work in that sleepy part of Colorado where I was working. Actually, it's not that sleepy. It is a major ski town, but I call it sleepy just because it was so far outside of the major city of Denver. But yeah, it was a fun time. I saw a lot of great dance pieces done by faculty and students, and yeah, special time. Story for another time, though. Beep bop beep a doop a doop boop. A friend shared with me some gospel tunes or links to videos, and one of them, which it just hit. It hit. It's called "If You Can't Make It Through the." If you can't make it through a storm. I believe who posted it is BCAZ711, so BCAZ 711. I don't know what that stands for, but even if you just plugged in "If You Can't Make It Through a Storm," Terry Mays, TerriMays, she's the one who sings it, and along with some people in the choir. And they're just hanging out in the church. Like, I don't know if they were there for a rehearsal or if it was like for a gathering of like a potluck or something, but I just replayed it over and over and over, and it hit. That one, it had me in tears, and I was just bawling, and yeah, there's something about it, spirit got moved, and yeah. It was good. Had me thinking of my mom, of course, but and just life in general. It, yeah, well worth checking out. Let's see. I hate that this is still going on, but man, I'm still reading articles on women calling cops on black people, black joggers, people who are out minding their business. I don't get it. And I'm still seeing about these unarmed shootings by police officers of unarmed men and women. And I just, when is this going to stop? Because I thought after the first time we saw this, it would. It shouldn't have happened then, because again, you just go on about your normal life because, I don't know about you, but when I'm working, I'm busy working. Because, I'm not a multi-millionaire, at least not yet. Maybe one day I will be. That would be nice. But, you just want the world around you to be nice. And not just nice. I mean, that's the best way I can describe it. You you just want to have like just a normal, regular life. Because really, it's all about your family and your friends and being able to share experiences with them and without having worries on basic needs. And so to do that, to go out and just be concerned about your health, and then you're out minding your own business, and maybe you have your headpiece in, your earbuds, and you're just out chilling with your music, minding your own business, and somebody calls the cops on you. Makes no sense. I don't get it. But anyway, so I might have made mention of some of these next following bits in earlier podcasts, but so my apologies for that. I just want to make sure that I got it covered. But before that, I am going to pause again. Okay, so I am back, and I might be picking up some additional noise because in my multitasking and actually in trying to reduce the amount of outside noise, I pretty much encased myself and turned off the outside elements so that way they wouldn't affect the podcast. But and in doing so, I just created an easy bake oven scenario for myself, which it's already an easy bake oven during any normal summer because the walls end up retaining the heat and it just stays hot forever and ever and ever. But to have be cooking things in the oven and stuff on the stove, and then it's 115 degrees all day outside, the easy bake oven aspect, so that was just a perfect storm for me to sweat while I'm sitting in one place, and also for my alarm to go off. So spent a lot of time in taking care of that and trying to get the fresh-ish air circulating throughout, just to kind of clear out the bad and the heat and to cool down the place. So that was a lot of fun. So I apologize in advance for the sound not being as stellar as before, possibly a little bit muffled, or hearing drag racing going on from the kiddos outdoors. Although they might not be kids, they're probably just grown men who are bored and have an infinite amount of resources to waste. So, anyway, continuing on. So, I can't remember if I mentioned this before or not, that Krispy Kreme is planning on opening up a huge flagship store in Times Square. Yes, that Times Square in New York City, with all those flashing lights and all the other consumerist stores, I guess, if you will, that are there. I don't know. It's such a huge tourist trap. There's already enough stuff there, but now you're going to add a Krispy Kreme to it. That just is like bonkers. But so they are planning on opening, I believe, September 15th of this year, and they're going to have 24-hour street side pickup. So that's a window that they're going to have available, which to me is like, really? 24 hours for donuts? But I guess, hey, why not? There's going to be somebody out there buying it. And on top of it, when I had to work graveyard shifts for several jobs, having those places that stayed open late or opened early in the morning, that kind of was helpful because I couldn't eat dinner at a normal time, so I get it. It just sucks for those people that have to work those hours, which, I don't know, I just kind of feel like we don't necessarily need those hours for everything, but hey, it's the world that we live in. Let's see, what else are they going to have? They're going to have a working donut theater with stadium-style seating, and that seating is supposed to be in the shape of a donut box. And the way that it looks, when I saw a picture of it, it's like the lid, it really does look like a donut box. It's like the lid is open, and so it looks like I have no idea how this works. I don't know why it's this way, but it is in the shape of a donut box. The stadium seating, it's not like, the way that it looks, it's as if the seating isn't perfectly lined up at the top of the box. So the way that it is, the box is open, but if it were to close, it would be more of like an overhang. So let's say like the stadium seating is like 2 rows of donuts as opposed to 4 rows of donuts, and the lid would accommodate 4 rows of donuts. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you were to pinch your thumb and your finger, like if you were to make the shape of an L, like for loser, it doesn't matter which one you do it to. And if you were to close it, your thumb is a lot shorter than your index finger. So when it closes, that is how I imagine that this donut box looks. So when it's open and sort of like at an angle, like what is that, 45 degrees, that's kind of what this stadium seating box seating looks like. So, I don't know. It should be interesting. I believe they're going to have that theater seating roped off or blocked off, or they're going to, I don't know, make it modified to make sure that it's in line with the pandemic restrictions and modulations and just being compliant. And speaking of donuts, I'm almost positive I mentioned this before. Donut Friend, Blue Star Donuts, Shipley Donuts, and Voodoo Donuts as places to check out and get some yummy donuts from. And let's see, I'm going to put this on pause again so I can deal with the extra sound issues. Hold on 1 second. Alright, well, reduce it just a little bit, but my apologies yet again if this does sound less than stellar, or at least not as nice as the other podcasts. So, but hey, dealing with the heat, and I'd rather not have the alarm go off again. So, let's see, I know I mentioned this before, but just bringing it up again, Kat Graham's natural hair beauty routine. It is a great video for those of us who do have natural hair. She mentioned some pretty interesting products. I have yet to check it out, but I do have it bookmarked, so I can refer back to it. And the other one, I know I mentioned it as well. It's called Nuke With Me with, what's his name? Marlon. Yeah, I can't remember his last name, but the episode that I watched was Marlon Makes Eggplant Parmesan. It's funny, and I dig the characters that he creates out of that. So I have no idea if it's supposed to be a real cooking show or if it's more about him showcasing his characters and camera work. No idea, but I am all about people creating their own content and making something kind of cool, funny, and interesting for everybody else to watch, and just them sharing their art. Let's see, other things I watched was, I caught a little bit of old footage from Orson Welles, and also checked out another video. I think Robin Thede did this one. It was on her other show called The Rundown, but it's Black Women of History. And it was actually really interesting to check it out. Yeah, she added humor to it, but it was surrounded, and it was all about historical facts and present-day facts from real women. And I learned something even from that. And it's like, it would have been nice to read about some of the stuff in my history books, but, que sera. But learning it now. And one of those facts was the whole, the boycott, the bus boycott, which was actually started by another woman. And they ended up using Rosa Parks instead, and I can't remember what the reason was. And again, I don't know if this is where maybe a little bit of the humor comes into play, but as far as like a reason why. But it was actually another woman. So, but Rosa Parks was the face that they used in order to spearhead that. But I also believe that I don't know if it's that she suggested the what she did with the bus, if that whole thing. Sorry, I'm just not being succinct with this, only because I can't remember the whole history of it, and I didn't do that deep of a dive into it, so my apologies. But again, I'm bringing this up, so in case you want to do the deep dive, here you can. So I watched that. It's Black Women of History, Robin Thede, The Rundown. if you want to check that out. Also ended up looking at some old footage of James Baldwin giving either it's his response to a question asked while he was on a panel, or he was part of some sort of a lecture he was invited to, but just hearing that man speak, so eloquent and so just, well, he's succinct and able to convey his talking points in a very easily digestible manner where it's very logical. It has emotion without being emotional, and it just makes sense. So really anything by James Baldwin, check that out. Also saw, and I may have already mentioned this, sorry, looked at, there was like this channel that was doing a run of old Johnny Carson panels, and I don't know if it's like the whole entire show or just doing sections of like, these are all the comedians at that time, or these are some of his more interesting panels at that time. Don't know how it was set up, but the one that I saw was this guy who was speaking on the Marilyn Monroe autopsy, and then what that autopsy showed was that she did not commit suicide, and then just bringing up all the reasoning behind that and who he interviewed, and even interviewing the person who performed the autopsy, and just it was really, really interesting, and I just wish I was able to get the gentleman's name, so that way I could find the interview to check it out from beginning to end, because what I saw was like the last I'd say like quarter of the interview, and honestly you could hear a pin drop in that audience, and you wouldn't even think that there was a studio audience, because everybody was tuned in. There was no noise, nobody was coughing, nothing. That's how compelling this interview was. But it also came out, I don't think this happened when she died. I think it actually, that's a good question. I don't think this happened when she died, but it was after that. But darn, I just can't remember when exactly this interview took place. But, like early 70s, I think? Late 60s? Not too sure. Another video to watch that I thought was hilarious. Check out the Liberal Redneck. It's what's his name? Trey Crowder, Traecrowder, and it's a Liberal Redneck This Week in Hell. It is funny, really good stuff, and I wasn't too sure if I was going to like it, but it's all about clicking it, see if you like it, and if you don't, then there's other things to watch and move on. But it's funny, and actually he kind of reminds me of this guy that was in a class. Actually, it's a program that I ended up taking when I was in high school. That, it was separate from what my normal studies were, and just had like a really cool cast of characters that took that class. And this guy reminded me of one of them, and really good guy. Let's see. I know I mentioned this already, but the CW. They are actually, I believe, in the process of creating a live-action adaptation of the Powerpuff Girls, which the cartoon itself was on air, I believe, the Cartoon Network from 1998 to 2005. And I don't know, I'm a little torn on that one. Could be good, could be meh, who knows. But yeah, we'll wait and see. So, what else? Another professor ended up coming out to profess herself as black, and she apparently identified as black during most of her adulthood, and so apparently she's not going to teach at the university where she's working at this fall, but they didn't make mention if she plans to return. Who knows, but and I'm wondering how that came about. Like, if she has been identifying as black for most of her adult life, number one, I don't know how old this woman currently is, but I'm guessing if you are a professor at a university, at the youngest, you'd be in your, maybe, like, late 20s? Like, getting off the mid, getting into the late 20s, early 30s. And if we're talking adult life, maybe, I don't know if this started at 18, if this is more of a 20-year-old thing. And I don't know. I don't know what brought this about, why she did it, if that's why she got hired, is to fill a quota, and because she looked light enough, she got hired. Who knows, but that happened. An interesting article I came across, the title, something along these lines, I know I'm going to mess it up, but it's a former NASA astronaut. His name is Leland Melvin. The article was about how he wasn't afraid to go into space, but a police stop made him sweat. And man, ain't that the truth? Because, I've been in that position before. But I was coming at it from the viewpoint of not race, but just like, I'm getting pulled over because I was speeding. There was an infraction of some kind. And actually one time it was because one of my headlights was out. And I didn't realize it at the time. But to be pulled over at night for that, it did make me kind of nervous. And I just made sure that I pulled into a spot that was well lit, which luckily I was going to that area at the time, and it had cameras. Not that would make any difference in anything, but, it would help. So, so apparently this incident took place when he was in high school, and he was riding with his girlfriend at the time, and the cops stopped him. I don't know all the details from it, and this is me just gleaning a little bit from the article, which, yes, I did read the article from start to finish, but just in my retelling of this, I may not have all the details. But overall, he was pulled over by a cop, the cop told the girlfriend to get out of the car, where then the cop said to the girlfriend, like, that you're going to say that he raped you. He meaning Melvin, who is the former NASA astronaut. That the cop told the girlfriend to say that Melvin raped her, and that's why the cop is going to put him in jail. Like the cop was telling her this. And I think, I could be wrong about this, but I believe he grew up in North Carolina, I'm pretty sure it's North Carolina. Wherever it is, it's where Arthur Ashe, I believe he grew up, or he played tennis. So, but yeah, it was a really good article. And there is also, along with that, this portrait that I believe NASA has used, and it's a really cute portrait, and it's a portrait that has him with two dogs, and I didn't realize it until I reread it later on, that the two dogs that he's posing with, and it's super cute. It's these two rescue dogs that are his, and they're just really, really cute, and you can tell that they love this man. And apparently he snuck the dogs in. He wasn't supposed to sneak them in, but he snuck them in for the portrait, and honestly, the portrait is gold. It's really, really cute. And then another little ditty that he shared was his time in space, where there is this Russian astronaut ended up inviting him over to the Russian segment of the space station to share a meal. And this woman, apparently she was the first female commander of the space station, and she also hosted this meal. And, it was a combination of people who were Russian, French, African American, Asian American, German, just all these different backgrounds. And the part that I took out of it that he found that was so cool is that they broke bread at 17,500 miles per hour, going around the planet every 90 minutes. And what he got from that is what they call orbital perspective. And as I understand it, and I've heard of this before, not that term, but just this I don't want to say phenomena, but just that awe-inspiring moment that astronauts have when they're looking at Earth from space. And overall, it's just that, you gain that perspective of gazing down at our planet as a whole. And overall, that, you realize, and he just put this just so well in words that, if you don't work together as a team, you end up perishing. And, he took that to heart, and, it's like that serves well here on our planet. If we don't all work together, we will perish. And we all need to, work together for ourselves, for our community, for the planet, and it's a good article. So you can find that on CNN. It's written by a woman named Ashley Strickland. Although Ashley, I guess, could be a guy. I don't know. But yes, I'm making a general assumption on the gender, so apologies for that. But hey, Ashley, I see that name, I'm going to think female. So Ashley Strickland is the one that wrote that article. What was the other video? Oh, saw a video. It's titled "Guy Keeps Saving Baby Manatees," and it is on the what is it? The Dodo channel. The subtitle for it is "The Dodo Heroes," and it is they had me at manatees for one, and it's just about this guy who, as a kid, I don't know. They go into the video on like his start, but as a kid, he ended up working with this volunteer rescue group to save manatees, and where he was educated on just a lot of the horrific things that these gentle, beautiful creatures encounter every day from humans, ranging from their poor skins being sliced by the boats, by the blades from the propellers on boats, because and actually I had a chance to swim with manatees myself, so I ended up getting that education, and their eyesight is very poor, and they're just curious creatures, so when they see something, they want to swim up close to it, and by either it's the sound or the visual of it, they end up just getting sliced by these propellers because they're so close. And I just, oh gosh, I feel for these animals. And you can just see all of them, at least all the ones that I encountered, all of them were scarred in some way or another, these poor babies. And so it's either pollution or, propellers, but it's humans, really, that are just the cause of their plight. So I don't know. Check out that video and just get educated and spread the word. What else did I watch? Oh, some movies that I watched. So recent one that I checked out, and I didn't look at either of these from start to finish, but Atlas Shrugged, which I recall it's either like the title of the book or the movie or both. But I remember it got on my radar years ago for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know if it's that maybe the premise was interesting. But so I looked at part of Atlas Shrugged 1 and Atlas Shrugged Part 2. The first one, visually, it has like a really cool sort of, what's the way I can describe it? Sort of like a noir, and I don't know if that would be like a neo-noir, almost steampunk vibe to it, or a post-industrial vibe, and it's like, it's almost difficult to see that it would take place in a modern era, even though it does, but it doesn't. It has like a very timeless quality about it. It's very cool to watch. But I found that there was an awful lot of talking done, and what's weird is that it felt like it was very, very long, a very long movie, but I was still engaged and wondering, all right, well, what's going to happen next? So they didn't lose me. I wasn't quite bored, but it felt as if the same way I would feel when reading like a really, really, really thick and wordy book. But because it was on film, they were able to cut a lot of it out and make it more interesting. That's why I can describe it. The second one, and again, I dipped in and out on this. Actually, I really dipped in and out because I was falling asleep, but I kept it had a completely different cast, so I was kind of thrown off by that because they kept the same names. And I don't know if the reasoning was that they couldn't afford the first cast, or maybe time passed and the people that were in this cast, they were just busy working on other projects. But it personally would have been nice to keep the same cast and to also keep the same look of the movie. So not only did they have a different cast, but the look itself was more, even though it took place in a contemporary time with modern advances, it looked like it was made in the 80s. And even the acting that was done in it, it was very reminiscent of some of that, I hate to say it, that bad, cheesy acting of the 80s. It was kind of like uncomfortable and cringy to watch. But I wanted to stay with it just so I can find out what happened. And even then, I'm not entirely sure. When I did a little bit of investigating, it looks like there was a part 2. No, not a part 2. A part 3. So apparently it's a part of a trilogy. And I haven't seen the trilogy. I don't know if that's any better, any worse. But overall, the subject matter of it, it's, best way I can describe it, it's the, because it kind of made you mad looking at this. And Anne Rind, I don't know how you pronounce her name. I guess she wrote this in the 50s, and it was to take place in the future. And I don't know if that future was 2016 exactly, or if it's that the first movie was created in 2011 but took place in 2016. I don't know. But it's a lot of the things that are depicted in this movie have already played out in front of our eyes or are currently playing out in front of our eyes. And it's enough to make you just either cringe or get mad and frustrated. But overall, it seems like the government wants to take over stuff, or things are going badly. Government wants to step in and say that those that are running things for profit, or the businessmen, they don't want them to have a monopoly, so then the government steps in and they want to take over and kind of force these businessmen out. And even though the businessmen, and maybe not all businessmen, but a lot of them are creating positive solutions to a lot of the issues that we're facing in our world. But due to politics, they arm wrestle their way on into that realm and take over. And then once the government takes over, things end up falling apart, or things do not get better, and they just get worse and worse and worse. So the government, instead of, realizing the issues and the problems, they double down and just repeat the same problems, and they just expand instead of recognizing the problems and not repeating history. Makes no sense, but that is the government that we have currently. And that's how a lot of government has been working, not just now, but in other times. So, I don't know. What else did I look at? I checked out some other B movies that were bad or cheesy or had meh acting. But, I kept on watching it. Like, one of those movies was Spiders 3D. I think that's the name of it. Didn't finish watching that. I'm assuming everything ended well, but basically space, science, Russian scientists, American government taking over or working with Russian scientists, trying to create weaponry. I think that's what was going on. Again, I kind of dipped in and out because I was busy multitasking. But anyway, ended up looking at just other B movies or just old movies, and one of them was a Danny Kaye film. I do not recall the title, but he played an inspector general. For all I know, that could have been part of the title. I haven't done the research yet, but I was just really caught up in watching Danny Kaye do his thing, and I just was reminded on what a great performer he was. And yeah, you can call him cheesy and hokey, and but I respect him for the craft and for just having that childlike just wonder and just all that cool stuff that he brought to entertainment. I appreciate that about him. And one of the other things that sticks out, aside from, the easy go-tos like Thumbelina, was I think he did that Inchworm song on The Muppet Show. Oh, it's so cute. Really, really cute. And if there is not some sort of video footage on that, I'd be surprised. So, Danny Kaye, which had me thinking and recalling and just being nostalgic, because I enjoy a lot of those old films, the black and whites, the early Technicolor films, and yeah, some of those can be problematic, but I appreciated them for what they were, and a lot of the movie musicals that were created then too. And I was turned on to that stuff from my mom and my dad. And my dad and I would sit and watch black and white movies a lot, and turned me on to a lot of really, really cool ones. And I'm trying to remember, there was one that I really enjoyed, and I can't remember if he turned me on to that one or if I caught wind of it someplace else. I believe I was in college at the time. The movie, it's the Philadelphia Experiment, not the one with the boat, but this is the one with, or the Philadelphia Story. I think it's Philadelphia Story, and this is one with Jimmy Stewart and Katharine Hepburn, and yeah, I remember really, really liking that movie, and I also watched that with a guy I had a huge, huge crush on, that I briefly dated for a while. That, yeah, that was, I really love that movie. It was a good one. Let's see, something else of interest, and yeah, I'll try to make this quick and wrap it up. I actually thought that this would be a short one, but apparently not. I saw an article that was a list of the 21 best beach movies of all time, and I'm sure there's more than the 21 that they showed, but these are like somebody's best or collective best. And of that list, some that stood out to me was Gidget and Beach Blanket Bingo with Annette Funicello and Frankie Avalon, and those brought back some memories of the Saturday afternoons where there was back home on the what was it, like, I think it's like the UHF stations, or yeah, it was UHF for this one. There was a show, it was called Superhost, and it was this guy that dressed up like Superman, but he was called Superhost, and he would host these Saturday afternoon B movies. And, they were just cheesy but fun, and, that's where you would see these Gidget movies and the Beach Blanket whatever movies. Just really anything with, like, Annette Funicello and Frankie Avalon. And then thinking of that had me, in turn, thinking of these other hosts that were big back home in Cleveland at the time. Friday nights, like late nights, and I believe they came on after the news and one other like half hour like show. Big Chuck and Little John, they were these late night hosts that would showcase B movies, and so they'd host the B movies, but they'd also have these skits in between. And I don't know, a lot of these, I don't know if they are offensive, because what they were doing was, it's pretty much seeing like a lot of Polish jokes, but just live action. And these were the skits. But I believe both of those hosts were Polish as well. I'm almost positive. I believe they were Polish. Or they were of Polish descent. And hokey as I don't know what. And some of them were funny, but a lot of them were like that yuck, like a lot of Three Stooges, stuff. Not quite Benny Hill, but maybe like Benny Hill-esque movies would be shown. But it was like late night on a Friday, and this is, during a different time, so they can get away with it. But getting back to the beach movies, another favorite, that I will always love is Point Break with Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze. Something about that movie, just love it, love it, love it, love it. Let's see, Weekend at Bernie's was mentioned. That's a classic. And Psycho Beach Party, which I've never seen that one, but reading the brief little synopsis of it that was contained in this list, it makes me want to see it. So make sure you hold me to it. I need to check out Psycho Beach Party at some point, some way. So along with reading the Twilight series over again, I'm staying in the young adult realm, and I am currently reading Jenny Han's book, To All the Boys I've Loved Before. And it is fun, and it also has a bit of a nostalgia trip. So as I understand it, I'm pretty sure that this book is set like in current times, but it gives off the vibes of the Wonder Years. I don't know, there's something about it. I don't know if it's the character and maybe just her persona just carries off that vibe, but it kind of just reminds me of the Wonder Years and the fun of watching that show. And I don't think I watched that show when it was actually on TV, but I think I mainly saw it when it was in syndication. And it is, I don't know, it's an enjoyable show to watch. I think even currently, it's a fun show to check out because it is about a guy as an adult looking back on his childhood. So it's, I don't know, if you haven't seen the show, try to check that out. It's fun. And I don't know, but this book also brings up, reminds me of a lot of first crushes and all of that. And it's just sort of, reading this book has been my nice, fluffy, just entertainment. I can wrap myself up in a blanket, have some tea, and just read and dig in. And it makes it a very quick read. So if you're one of those people that doesn't like reading, but you do, but you just want some light entertainment, this is a good one to read because you can quickly get through it. Or slowly get through it just by piecing it out and going chapter by chapter, all up to you. Other things that I came across that I wasn't aware of, one of the Google Doodles from this week was on Jackie Ormes. I don't know if you pronounce it Ormes or Ormes, but she was given a Google Doodle nod during the week, and she is the first African-American female cartoonist, and she's the creator of a comic strip called Torchy Brown, and also Patty Joe and Ginger Panel. I'm not familiar with either two, although the Torchy Brown sounds familiar. It's vaguely familiar, and I don't know if that's because my mom might have mentioned it at some point or showed it to me. I don't recall, but yeah, she was an activist and a cartoonist, and she portrayed characters who were black and who were female and confident, and they had careers that were professional careers, and they weren't they're like a stereotypical negative caricature of a career of that time or before, but they had high salaries, and they were competent, they were complex and fashionable, and they were just doing it for themselves. Sisters doing it for themselves. And so Ms. Jackie Ormes, she was the only one of that time. And she was born in Pittsburgh, and which has a familial tie-in for me. And I'm not too sure if she passed away in Salem, Ohio, or if it was in Chicago. That I'm unsure about. But still, that's another historical figure that it would have been great to know about her in high school, or even in college, but definitely in high school. I just feel like, if I had known about her or read about her at that time, who knows what interest that would have piqued. Maybe I would have been an animator. Who knows? Or maybe seeing the the cartoon strip, maybe I would have gone into fashion, just looking at the clothing designs that she had her characters wear. I don't know. Or maybe I would have taken on a profession of what her character or characters were portraying. But yeah, so I'm sharing the word right now. I'm doing that, so maybe, who knows who's going to listen to this at what time, and maybe this will inspire a young female out there to become an animator and to become a director of animation and create cool animation and animated series that the world will enjoy. So share your works with the world. Go on ahead. Let's see. So, I will go ahead and wrap this up, but just to give you a reminder, make sure that you check out the Alvin, Ailey American Dance Theater's excerpts of Revelations. You can find that. I don't know if you can find it on the Alvin Ailey site. Maybe you can. I'd like to think that you could. I'm sure you could probably find them on YouTube as well, but definitely on the Music Center site. And keep in mind that they're only going to have that on for a limited time, so check it out while you can. I believe it's until September 30th. Let's see, anything else that happened? I actually, around the time that my place was just all up in smoke, as it were, and actually, no, my place wasn't up in smoke. It was just getting way too hot, and I needed to air it out. So I was in a conversation, sorry about that, with somebody over stubbornness, and it went from one topic of conversation to another, but towards the end of that conversation, it ended up becoming a topic of stubbornness, and but anyway, that's what it turned into. But I mentioned in relaying, actually just to explain something or to expand or expound on what I had touched on earlier in this conversation, is I mentioned that I had one of those, like, oh yeah, I'll show you mentalities. And basically it was that, in so many words, somebody had said, like, oh, I bet you can't do that, or nah, you'll never be able to do that. And not saying that those are the exact words, but it amounted up to that, or they were discouraging me from embarking on some sort of an endeavor. And so in my head and verbally in so many ways, I said, oh yeah, I'll show you. And I set out to prove them wrong. And even though that particular job was huge, it was enormous, and it was an awful lot of work, and I wondered what the hell I got myself into, like, as soon as I said, oh yeah, I'll show you, and agreed to do it. So that moment, and then all the way throughout the whole process, I was wondering if I could see it through and wondering if I could do it, but I did see it through. There was no way that I couldn't. I refused to not see it through to the end. And I might not have been the best at it, but I was sure going to try my damnedest to make sure that I was, and that the project ended up as a success. And it did. It was, and it did, and I did it. And I do wonder, as I was responding to him and kind of relaying a little bit of my own thoughts, I wondered if that is what I personally was missing. Just missing from life lately. I mean, not so much recently, or maybe recently, but just in, these more recent chunks of years. And that, before, and I don't know if this was it was like in the formative years of schooling, and even after that, I just had just so many circles of people around me, and I was in all these circles. I had these people from these different circles who would maybe unintentionally or inadvertently and also consciously challenge me, and they challenge me because either I wanted to prove them wrong because they said that, oh no, you can't do that, or nah, you probably shouldn't do that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll show you. So whether these were friends or just people that weren't friends, or maybe they were outsiders looking in, there was just that drive. or it also could have been that I was surrounded by those people that were really, really smart, and maybe they were doing something that I wanted to do. So I'm like, ooh, you know what? I'm going to see if I can do that. And sort of had that little contest in my mind, but it was a contest with that person to see, can I do as well, if not better? And that's not to say that I don't know amazing people who are in my life right now, or know of amazing people doing these things, but they maybe they haven't verbally given me that, oh yeah, I don't think you can do that, no, that's not for you, because actually I just had a thought right now, not saying that I didn't have thoughts before, but I wonder if it's that, when you surround yourself with good people, well-intentioned people who, they could be doing well, or they have good intentions for you, and because they care about you, they don't necessarily push you. And that's not to say anything bad, but it's sort of like, if you were to surround yourself with people that were, like your parents, that loved you and sheltered you and said, oh, you're great, oh, that's awesome, like no matter what it was that you did, or that rock star that is surrounded by all those yes people, the yes men and women, the people that don't want to rock the boat because they don't want to lose that coin. And so they're not going to say, hey, you know what, you might want to rethink that choice, or you know what, you might not want to do that song because that might be detrimental, or you might not want to wear that, you might not want to design that. The people who you would have in your circle of supporters to kind of give you that reality check, or to brainstorm with, or bounce ideas off of, who aren't afraid to say or give their opinion on something. And it's not about hurting your feelings, it's to make you better, to help you improve. And so, and I wonder if that is the case. And again, I guess I'm going to use myself as the example, because I don't want to speak for anybody else, but, I feel we're all connected in one way or another, and even if somebody doesn't go through one experience, maybe somebody else who is. So, I don't think anybody's experience is all that unique to anybody else. You might not be experiencing it, but you are aware of it. So, being surrounded by great people, wonderful people, but maybe they aren't unconsciously or inadvertently pushing you to be better or do more. And it's not because they don't love you, it's just that either they think you're fine, or maybe they have things that they're worrying about in their own lives and they think that you're fine, or they see you as a lost cause, or they see you as, well, they won't get better, but then they don't want to put that negative juju on you. I don't know. Interesting. But even though one might not have that in their circles, I find that you can seek that out in other people that are doing the thing that you want to do. Whether you know them personally or not, you can use them as that guide, that guiding force within your own life. So if you see somebody out there who, maybe they're like this awesome yoga teacher, and then they open up their own yoga studio, and maybe that's something that you want to do, but you're not there yet, then you can look to that person as somebody who did it. And whether, it doesn't have to be anybody famous, it can be somebody who has a local business down the street, or maybe they are famous and they have some great place in the downtown section of whatever city you're living in, or maybe they live in another country and they're doing that thing in some other country. it could be somebody who you have no access to that lives on the other side of the globe, but you can still use them as that driving force, that guide to, like, you know what, I'm going to work on getting myself to that level, and let's do it. So instead of just having those outside people saying, oh yeah, well, I doubt you can do that, or no, that's too hard, I think we all have that inner ego, that chatty brain in ourselves that tells us we are less than or that we can't. So if we don't have those people doing that in our lives, the support group of people in our lives, not those negative Nellies that want to keep you down. I'm talking about that team of people that everybody should have in their lives, and hopefully you do, and if not, hopefully you will have that because you're working towards that as a goal. If you don't have those particular support groups around you pushing you to be better and do better, you can always use that ego, that chatty mind, that, because we are our own worst critics at all times, unfortunately. It's just a matter of tamping that down and getting the positive going. So we are that person pushing us for ourselves. And that is my long-winded way of saying, you know what? You can do it. You can be better. You can feel better. You can think better. You can love better. You can be big. Be bold. Be bright. Be blissful. Be joyous. Be playful. Be successful. All of that fun stuff. Be healthy. And, yeah. So with that, I'm going to end and wish you a very happy golden hour. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you for everybody who has commented in one way, shape, form, or another, whether that be on the Podbean podcast, whether that be through the YouTube channel, which is Mari's Golden Hour, whether that be through text, on the street, in person, a phone call, what have you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I will leave you with a quote that I hope I can remember. And it is a quote by Albert Einstein that, what is it? Okay, and I can't remember it word for word, but hopefully this is it. I leave you with this, that coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. Yeah, I don't know, I kind of like it. And just know that you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for Mari's Golden Hour, and enjoy, and go out there and share the love. Ciao.